Hello and welcome to the Yerky Boys. May the Kandrona shine and strengthen you. My name is Will.
My name is Jonathan.
And we are
the Yerky Boys.
Yeah, good energy.
Yep, okay, that's right.
Bringing
energy.
That energy to the table here.
Because we don't want people to listen to this and not be energized. We want them to hear it and immediately they're like, yo!
Yeah, you know? We're not tired or anything. We're hyped. So today we're talking about the second part. Our second part of the Hork-Bajir Chronicles.
That's right. It's for us. It's the second part.
Yes, there aren't really official parts.
No, we are separating this ourselves, and this is chapters 13 through what?
Through 24.
Cool.
Yeah, it almost kind of makes a sort of sense.
And we're really not gonna, I don't think we have too much business this week. Like, I think there's no sharings or anything. We're in the middle of a book, so there's not much we have to establish. I think we're pretty much just gonna jump right into it.
Yeah, as always, I will say if you didn't listen to part 1, then what the fuck are you doing? Go back and listen to that. That's
insane. If you're listening to just part 2 of this, then you're a freak.
I just don't trust our listeners to not do this.
No, it's you're right. People are very stupid. It's that old and to go on it, we should have a tangent here. Mm-hmm. There's I don't remember who says. I think it was the creator of the Stanley Parable. Do you remember that video game?
I know it exists. Yes.
No, there's a thing. Some video game designer has a thing about how when you design a game and then they test it, as the designer, like you'll put a door in front of you as the start of the level, and you're like, all right, first thing you do is go through the door, and when you play test it, like 80% of players will like turn around and knock into a wall and be like, how come I can't go through that wall? Because people are stupid. So it never, as much as you ever like see any kind of media and you think, man, they're really like dumbing it down or spoon feeding it to me. It's because people are stupid, and the best thing to do is to just as much as possible remind people the correct way to do things, because most of them are idiots.
And when we say people are stupid, I do want to be clear here. I am talking about you personally.
Yes.
Like we think that you are stupid. We know what we're doing. You don't. That's why you're listening to this.
Yeah. I mean, we're called the Yerky Boys, but in this instance, we're sort of the Andalites.
That's true.
And you're whoever the fuck else.
Right. Yeah. Anybody.
Yeah.
All right. So I teased last time that I wasn't done talking about the covers of these books.
Hmm.
And I say these books, right, for a very specific reason. So what a lot of our listeners may not know is that you did own some Animorphs books when you were a kid.
Me specifically.
You specifically, yes. And at one point before reasonable time before we started this podcast, you had found some in like your parents' basement because they were moving, whatever. And I took them because you didn't want them.
Right. This was before I didn't, my love of Animorphs hadn't been reinvigorated.
Yes. And I could have given those back to you for the podcast, but I think you're happier on your Kindle anyway, whatever.
Yeah. For consistency's sake, it's better for me. Because I didn't have I had 7 or 8 books, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe a dozen. But yeah, maybe a dozen. Yeah, not a ton. But this is relevant because I have my copy of the Hork-Bajir Chronicles and your copy of the Hork-Bajir Chronicles. And they are different because you owned the softcover version and I own the hardcover version.
Oh, so wow.
There's some differences between these books.
I thought you were just going to say that yours, like all the pages are stuck together.
Well, I will say my pages are in worse shape. I did actually read your copy rather than mine because my pages are a little more fragile because I read it too many times.
Yeah, I would hazard a guess that I read my copy maybe not more than twice.
Yeah, yours is in fine shape, honestly. It's pretty fine.
I mean, we talked about this with Andalite Chronicles too. And I'm sure I will think of it again when we eventually read Visser, because all three of those are books that I distinctly have the image in my memory of those covers and those titles on my shelf. I'm like, I know I had those books, and those something about the art on those covers is burned into my brains. I think it's so iconic, and yet I retained none of the actual content of the books.
Yeah, I do not have your Visser. I will say that. Wherever that is, it's lost to the wind. No idea.
Yeah, I'm positive I had Visser. I thought I had given that to you, but I guess it's lost.
It is lost. But yeah, some
Ellimist Chronicles I don't think I had, I'll just say.
Yeah, that would have been like a very end series thing. You'd have had to have stuck with it. So this great image that we were talking about, we spent so much time talking about before with Dak stretching out his arms and Aldrea looking, both of them kind of looking like a snack here. So on the softcover version, that is the like inner picture where the inner art would normally go. So if you flip open the cover, you'll see that there. And on the back, it's just like a circle with some designs on it. Looks like it could be a planet. Doesn't really look like the Hork-Bajir planet as it's described. And it's got like a little blurb over it. On the hardcover version, it's just that picture, nothing else. No writing, no nothing. It honestly looks really good. I'm a huge fan of it. Especially if I take off the book jacket so that the stupid barcode isn't on it. Then it looks great. The hardcover also has this really cool inner pattern where like the inside of the cover and the first page are like an extended version of that picture, but very, very like muted out and in like monotone, right? Like blue and white as opposed to black and white. Yeah. So you can see a little farther, and you can actually kind of see, I think you can kind of see a Chadu in it.
Whoa.
It's very hard for me to be certain because it's all grayed out. I don't know if there's a color version of this picture that actually portrays what that is. I can show you that at some point if you can't find it online.
I think I'm seeing the inside cover, if that's what you're talking about.
Is it very like washed out?
It has the text over it, right? I'm seeing a version that has a.
Wait, on this. Oh yeah, okay. So you seem to have part of it on your inside cover as well.
I'm looking at Seropedia, so
yeah, I can't really see any of that. Yeah, I don't know. This kind, I'm not 100% sure that that's what's going on.
Okay, so maybe it's different.
I think it might be part of the same image, but I can't really see much because it's got the barcode over it and it's got the text.
I think there's another picture I'm seeing that is what you're talking about. I do think it's the same. They just put stuff on top of it, maybe, or it's pretty similar. I don't know.
Yeah. So this inside cover has text. The inside cover on the hardcover does not have text, and the text on the soft cover, it's got the standard Animorphs thing. It's got a bit from the book, right? And then it's got a quote, and the quote, it says, "They say that terror is in the deep," which we covered last time. It's in huge text. Nothing like that in the hardcover. Now the book jacket on the hardcover does have a tiny little blurb in it, but it's a lot more like professional looking, right? Like it's like this tiny little thing up in the corner, and it's the thing about Dak being a seer because the Yeerks are here, and then it's got a summary of the book. And if I compare that summary of the book to the summary on the back of the softcover, it feels a lot more like legitimate. Like if you looked at this book jacket and you just ignored the last bit where it says Kay Applegate makes her hardcover debut for Scholastic. Wow. And you ignored the Scholastic thing, it reads like it's a real, like actual, not a kid's book type thing.
Well, even that part I'm looking at, it says, with this compelling and poignant novel that will not soon be forgotten. It doesn't say like a great book for kids. Like, that's a compelling and poignant novel. That sounds like it's being marketed to older people to me.
Yeah,
I don't think it was, but
yeah, the softcover does not give off that feeling at all. But the hardcover definitely has this more like, this is a real book, you guys. That's why we made it hardcover.
Yeah, that's legit.
Yeah, it is. And on the other side of the book jacket, we have K. Applegate's little bio here, and it's got the picture you mentioned earlier of her turning into a lion.
Yes, so K. Applegate gets her own morph here.
Mm-hmm.
Just like David, she chooses a lion. So I don't know what that's about.
Maybe David was a self-insert after all.
And it's just her face in the corner. I really do wonder, did they ask her, like, it'll be cute, what do you want to turn into? Or did someone just do this?
Yeah, you would think that somebody would have said, like, pick an animal, we'll turn you into it.
Does it also say Rita Wahlberg or something? Or Risa?
It does say Risa Wahlberg. I do not know what that is about.
That seems to me like that's not a David Mattingly. That someone else created that image, and it was Risa Wahlberg.
Yeah, that does seem to be what that means. Yeah. Interesting.
I mean, it doesn't... I will say it's not the most... honestly, there's 5 stages of this morph, and the last 3 just kind of look like a lion.
Yeah, really they should have gotten Mattingly for it. Clearly.
This looks like I could have made that. Like, there's nothing that impressive about it.
This is our Yerky Boys thumbnail.
Yeah.
Pretty much. It also says that somebody named Romus Kakalis did the jacket painting on this one. So that's who's responsible for the energy coming from the back.
Romus Kakalis. What is that, Greek?
Yeah, sure. It looks more Greek than anything. It's all Greek to me, as they say.
It's all Hork to me.
That's right.
I mean, I love her bio, but I don't know if we should get into it. But
it is a pretty good bio.
She was. I mean, I was going to say it. She's a jet setter. She's born in Michigan. She lived in Texas, Florida, California, Minnesota, and at the time of this book, lived in Chicago. I don't know where she lives now.
Yeah, all over the place.
And she spends her time writing, reading, and vegging out in front of the tube. It sounds like something Marco would say.
I mean, Kay might be a little bit of a Marco herself from time to time.
And she says this is a book she's wanted to write for a long time. Yeah. And,
she does say that
about it. Since I sort of want to talk about that, but maybe it'll come up later during this episode or maybe we save it until the end of how much do we think of this book, if any, was planned from the beginning? Probably the answer is none.
Mean from the beginning of the series?
Yes.
Yeah, like none. There's no way.
At any point. Like, when was it any of it formed in her head is what I want to know.
Yeah, I definitely, I don't think... Well, we can talk about it in more detail, but I think when she says the only reasonable way to interpret it's a book I've wanted to write for a long time is that, like, I had a vague idea for a type of story to write, but none of the details were in my head yet.
Thematically.
Thematically, I wanted to do this.
For a long time, I've wanted to write
because otherwise
the story of the Chadu and the Jubba-Jubba.
Literally can't be more than fucking months, otherwise it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Anything else about this cover I need to get into?
No, that's all. I just wanted to save that because I kind of had a feeling we were going to have too much to say about the cover already, and that last week's episode was going to be longer than this one in terms of content. So I figured I'd save a little bit,
Yeah. No, it was good. I think it was perfect. I think this episode's going to be a little bit more concise.
Yeah, I think so too. There's no way. There's just no way that it could possibly happen that we go on too long.
No, it is never in the history of our show, we have never said this will be a short episode and been wrong.
That's correct. All right. So, let's do a little summary so everyone's up to speed and remembers where we are. Dak and Aldrea have just watched her family get blown up. Okay.
Bummer.
I think we're all up to speed now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Dak is trying to get Aldrea to run away. And he is also kind of grappling with the fact that he is the seer, and so therefore this is his problem, right? He's got to deal with this. As this is happening, two Hork-Bajir show up. These are Esplin and Karger in Hork-Bajir morph, and attack them. Dak fights back, and he cuts Esplin's spine. So Esplin is paralyzed, and Karger runs away. But Geds show up with shredders, and so Dak and Aldrea run. Okay, so I actually have a shitload to say about.
Roughly 2 hours worth. Okay, go ahead. Steer the ship.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I'm want to steer this fully, but I mean, just to start off here, you were saying last time we didn't really have any action sequences. This is our first little action sequence. We get a little skirmish here.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're I think that it's fine, right? It's not a big chaotic Animorphs action sequence. So far, the Chronicles have been a little bit better with that.
Yeah. Well, there's some good descriptions of violence, like when he says his skin was separated as though a large mouth had been cut into my chest.
Sounds like the sort of thing Aldrea would say, since she finds mouths like inherently horrifying.
Yeah, I don't blame her. Seriously, they are. But I mean, the big deal about this scene is how it impacts Dak, which we'll kind of get into a little in the next scene. But it really happens here. Yeah,
because this is part of what makes this scene like more grounded. Is like not only is the scope smaller, like it's 2v2, but like the stakes are more than just their fighting, right? Because this is where Dak kind of Hork-Bajir, apparently they just like do not physically fight each other or hurt like at all. It's just not a thing that they do, and it hadn't really occurred to Dak that this was a thing.
Excuse me. I'm just checking in from the Seropedia editing, and actually in book 11, or 4, or something, it's stated that Hork-Bajir have combat rituals, and they go to war once every 65 years or something.
Yeah, that once every 50 years just doesn't work. That was just something she threw out there and then forgot she did.
Completely, both of those things just at odds completely with these race now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now in there's a little bit you could do with book 13 where you might say, oh, this sort of like bellowing ritual where they don't actually fight or whatever. You could say there's something there, right? Like this is like how Hork-Bajir actually like show dominance and fight. But the idea that this would escalate to fighting, it's just not a thing that happens. But that contradicts stuff later in the book for me, so I don't think that works either. I think you just have to throw all that out.
Yeah, it was a fever dream. Or, those Hork-Bajir were going crazy from the Yerks in their heads. That's what it was.
Yeah, or something. But
those Yerks had also had infested an Ongachik, and so some of the Ongachik traits carried into the Hork-Bajir brains.
Right, that's correct.
That is correct.
But yeah, Dak, as Dak begins to he says, it felt as if I were seeing myself for the first time, as if I had been given the power to look right into the heart of Father Deep.
Yes,
I like the idea
this is his I can dodge bullets moment.
Yeah, yes. Or no, he doesn't have to.
Right, sorry. It's that.
I mean, I do. It's not that it is interesting because, like, the way it's phrased, it's not like Hork-Bajir have no concept of violence. It's just like violence is a thing that comes from the deep, right?
Or by accident.
Yeah, but like that's what the monsters do, right?
Yes, but it does seem like it does seem a bit like the Chi in a way. I think this scene is extremely reminiscent of the scene when Eric starts fighting.
It is reminiscent of it.
Yeah, extremely.
Yeah.
As I said.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see the immediate, like, I'm never doing that again horror of it, right? The way that Eric has it. And, like, this buildup of, like, it would be so good if I could do it. It's more like I didn't see any way out, and now I'm seeing this, and I'm, like, coming to terms with it as both necessary and horrifying. I don't know. It's similar. No. I see what you're saying, though.
The aftermath is different, but it's a race that has no real concept of how to fight, and I mean, in this case, the Chi like actually were pacifist by choice. The Hork-Bajir are pacifist because they just don't know any different.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it is very funny to me that because they just have blades, razor sharp blades all over their body, and he's like, "Huh, I guess I could poke this into somebody and hurt him." Just never thought about that before. You could just kind of, oh yeah, that would kind of hurt, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not. Listen, it's just not what Hork-Bajir just. They don't want to do that. That's not.
I want an equivalent.
That's not the kind of thing they think about.
I want a race of people who have like guns for arms. Like, oh yeah, I guess you could shoot people with these. I always just used them to mine.
Well, sometimes you shoot people by accident, and that's a tragedy. But
yeah, when you're
it never
on set
occurred to me you could do
movie.
it on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean that's pretty much the central arc of this section. Really, is his coming to well. I guess I shouldn't say that, but it's a big part of his character arc in this part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
There will be more in store.
There's a lot of it. Yes, 100%. Yeah, like Dak has a lot of really good lines on that point throughout the book. One that happens right in this section right here is when Aldrea tells him that if the Hork-Bajir will learn to fight, then they don't have to be destroyed. And Dak says, yes, they do. Either they will learn to fight and hurt and kill, or they will learn to be slaves. Both will destroy them, killers or slaves. They will be one or the other, killers or slaves.
Yeah. That's
good lines.
It's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dak's great.
There's a few really good passages that I'll probably want to talk about. What's the deal with what language are these Hork-Bajir speaking? Hork-Bajir? Here's why I'm asking.
Yeah, no, I thought about that and then I moved on, but it is like a point. If they were speaking Gallard, Aldrea would have had to have taught Gallard to Dak.
Well, yeah, especially because on Earth, supposedly Hork-Bajir mouths are bad at speaking English. Mm-hmm. And that's why Hork-Bajir in the Animorph series talk like cavemen.
Yeah,
but here,
they intersperse like Gallard and Hork words,
right?
Yeah,
but here the Yeerks are now controlling native Hork-Bajir, and they're not speaking English. So they must be speaking either Gallard or Hork-Bajir.
Yeah,
I don't know. Was just wondering.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so here's an idea, and I think I did think about this as a kid. At the beginning, Dak speaks very simply and like short boom, 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 because that's just how all Hork-Bajir speak. And then as he learns, his grammar gets better, his word usage gets better. But these grammars and word usages can't have existed in Hork-Bajir because nobody uses them. So, like, where did they come from? And, like, maybe Aldrea did teach him Gallard, and maybe Dak speaks a mix of Gallard and Hork-Bajir now.
Yeah, maybe.
So maybe the new Hork-Bajir are doing the same thing. They're like, we learned some Gallard. I learned Hork-Bajir from the brain. I just do. Did I make it work? I don't know.
Yerks learn Gallard from Geds?
Ciro taught them.
Oh, sure. Okay, yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. What did they speak when they were in Geds? Because they couldn't, any Yerk language was like palp to palp or like echolocation related. Yeah. Do Geds have a language?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. What do Geds natively speak to each other?
Maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe when Geds talk, and it's not that they can't pronounce words without going rrr. Maybe they're speaking a mix of Ged and Gallard, and all the Ged words are just rrr.
I think we're onto something with this.
Yeah.
I had something else to say, but I really can't. So I was just lost in Geds now.
Lost in Geds.
I mean, there's a lot coming up, so
yeah, we see Dak at this point, and we're gonna see him do a turn on this, but we see him making more statements where he feels resentful of his species for being so stupid. Where he's like, "Oh, yes, can't believe how dumb Hork-Bajir are."
Yes. Yes. Oh, sorry.
It sounded like you were expanding on it.
Okay. Well, no, I remembered what I was going to say, which also relates to this, which was I feel like there is kind of a Flowers for Algernon-esque progression here with Dak, and I think that's extremely. I think Flowers for Algernon is based kind of the main theme of this book. We'll get into it as we go, but
I feel that I see exactly what you're saying, but
yeah. I mean, we'll get into it more specifically, but it is it's about knowledge and the cost of knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dak has a line right in here where where he's talking about all the things that he had hoped he was supposed to bring to his people. Right. And he says, but your father gave those things to the Yerks, and now we see the results. Maybe I was a fool to think that knowledge would make my people happy.
Yeah.
So that's sort of on. Yeah, and it's right here.
And again, it's the Yerks and the Hork-Bajir, or at least Dak, are kind of on the same journey here, or similar journeys.
Yeah, he says, like, there's another thing where, Aldrea is saying it, and Dak just immediately is like, no, I get it. I know why the Yerks attacked you, right? It's like, yeah, because by showing the Yerks all that they did not have, they began to want more. He says they wanted to be like you because and it's like, yeah, Dak gets it because he gets it,
right? Give him an inch. Yeah. Give him an inch into your ear canal. Well, that's good. I mean, I don't remember if that comes later or not, but. That line you just said was what I thought was like the best line in the book.
Oh, interesting. When they wanted to be like
about the stars. There's one later. That's what you were saying, right? Isn't that what you're saying?
Oh no, I was doing something stupid. I was being like Mother Sky's Flowers for Dak Hamee. It's like Flowers for Algernon. Oh. But yeah, no, later they say...
Yes, there is a line about flowers. It's later, so I shouldn't have...
Yeah.
It's later. We'll get
the line is, I believe, it was too late for Dak. He knew the sky, or he knew the stars weren't flowers or something. It's good. I'll have the exact thing when we get there.
I think that's right. And do we know what a sky dance is?
A sky dance?
There's a part when they're fighting, and he says, the Hork-Bajir slices the air with his blades, whirling and slicing, as if doing a sky dance.
Oh, I didn't catch that. That's interesting.
Yeah, well, is that like a thing Hork-Bajir do up in the trees? They do sky dances?
They must, right? Some kind of dance for Mother Sky.
Yeah.
I love Mother Sky. Yeah, this is more of a dance for Father Deep, though.
You're right.
Yeah. Yeah. Do we cover everything? Oh, there's one line that I do want to. There's a great line because Aldrea has some good lines in this book as well, and there is a line where, as they're leaving, she says to Visser 3, or she says to Esplin. I should just call him that here because that's what the book calls him. She says the daughter of Ciro will show you the other side of the Andalite character. It's a good line.
Yeah, pretty good. Aldrea, I guess we will get more into it, but you already see it here when she says she's willing to turn the Hork-Bajir into killers to stop the Yeerks. Aldrea, very Rachel-esque in this book, I think. Strong. Yeah. It's giving Rachel, as the kids would say.
Yeah. No, in the first part, you don't see as much. Like, she says that she always wanted to be a warrior, but you don't really see that aspect of her there.
I don't think
you really start to see the bloodthirstiness come out.
Yeah. I don't feel like in part 1 you really get a good sense of her character. I don't know. I feel like all the stuff in part 2, I didn't. Which, I mean, I guess she just went through a major traumatic event. So
and to be fair, you're not actually supposed to break in between, right? Right, like that is all kind of one book. But
yeah, right, yeah. I mean, I'll say more about that. I feel like I could just keep going, but we might as well wait till we get there.
Yeah, let's wait till we get there, I guess. So they're running. The Yeerks, they bring in their fighters to try to shoot him down from the sky. And Dak and Aldrea run toward the deep for cover because the sensors don't penetrate, whatever. They make it there, and on the way there's like a bunch of random innocent Hork-Bajir getting like blasted. They get into the deep, and the fog here is so thick they can barely see, more than a few feet ahead of them. The blue mist, it glows with like a light that seems to come up from below. There's like thick grass and weird plants. It's spooky vibes, right? And monsters are in here. But the Yeerks show up because the Yeerks have followed them in, and a Ged, we find out this Ged is infested by a Yeerk named Arklin. So Arklin finds them and tries to shoot them. But like the atmosphere is too dense and shredders aren't designed for it, so he gets flashback. I guess we could, whatever. But there's more Yeerks. They have him surrounded. They're going to get him without the shredders. But then they get saved by our friend, the Jubba-Jubba. The Jubba-Jubba shows up, and the Jubba-Jubba eats Kargar. And so we don't get a great description of this Jubba-Jubba, but it's really, really big. And it's got 3 fingers on its hands. It's big enough to like bite Hork-Bajir in half. And so I'm kind of imagining like what a Rancor is to a human, a Jubba-Jubba is to a Hork-Bajir. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, a Rancor, maybe even like a King Kong-esque. I mean, I was kind of picturing something without a face just because we don't get a description of a face.
Yeah, it's too tall. You can't see the face from the ground.
Yeah, or maybe it's almost
the hand come down.
Yeah, like if this were a movie, you would just see the hand come out of the mist or something. You wouldn't know.
Yeah. At this point, that is how it's described. The hand comes down from above, and like Kargar goes up, and then his body without a head falls back down. And so as everybody's scattering, Aldrea cuts off its hand with her tail. Again, you don't see the thing. Aldrea just hacks off its hand, and its hand falls down. And it roars, and Dak and Aldrea run away. They run deeper in, which is apparently the first time a monster of Father Deep has ever been defeated.
Right. Do we think that's an intentional Star Wars reference? The fact that a hand gets cut off.
Could be. Did we decide? I felt like we decided recently that it seemed like she had actually just watched them. Like her references made no sense, and then she made a reference where I was like, oh, maybe she watched it now.
It's very clear that she's more of a Trek person. We've definitely
100%.
established that. So I don't think it's probably an intentional reference, but it does feel like, you know, you gotta cut off an arm or a hand.
It does feel like the original Wampa scene.
Yeah.
Before they George Lucased it up, where it's just you hear the Jubba-Jubba, and then you see the hand, boom, and yeah.
I mean, on that note, I do feel like these middle chapters specifically are kind of the Empire Strikes Back of the Hork-Bajir Chronicles.
I feel you on that.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Actually, that works better than it should.
Well, it's because that's just how second acts work.
Well, I'm just saying there might be a no, Dak, I am your father line coming up.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and we do find out.
Yeah.
I guess that's the third movie when you find out that Dak and Aldrea are brother and sister.
Tila Fasha never told you what happened to your father.
Anyway,
all right.
It's interesting at this point that the Yeerks don't really care about Aldrea. They care about Aldrea. They don't care about infesting her. They just want to kill her. It's not until Esplin that he's like, I know what's up. I want one of these fuckers. Because they don't even know. I don't assume at this point they are even aware of morphing technology.
Yeah, no. A lot of Andalites are barely aware of it.
Yeah, so there's no real incentive. Although I would still think they look pretty strong.
Yeah, no, you might still want to do it, but it does kind of make sense to say like, okay, listen, there's like a whole species down there. We'll see, grab who we can, and whatever, as opposed to being like, there's like 3 of them. How likely is it we can grab them? Like maybe we just kill them because I don't want to try to fight.
Are like docile. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just forget the Andalite. They're too much trouble.
Yeah, just kill them. Blow them up from orbit and kill them.
Well, it's like very different from what we're used to, which is always like, oh, you gotta get that Andalite. Keep them alive. Fucking Andalites.
Yeah.
Whatever. They don't know yet.
Listen, Visser 3, it's Visser 3's fault they don't just kill those bandits when they got them. When they're like bugs. It's like, aha, I've got you trapped now, and you could just kill them, but no. It's all his fault.
In this part of the book, I was starting to sing Rolling in Father Deep.
This is really good.
Rolling in Father Deep.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really, yeah.
Can you explain to me how the fuck this shredder science works?
Well, see, they're designed for the vacuum of space, or at least a decently clear atmosphere. Not for something this dense.
In what way?
Well, like the particles are the like shredder wave particle is designed to move through the medium of a vacuum, and when
in what way?
Well, it moves through it, like maybe electromagnetically.
Oh. Okay.
I mean, there's parallels to this with like light and shit, right? Where like
I just don't understand. Okay.
He got flashback.
He got flashback, which, by the way, is that a real word besides, flashback? Okay, I don't know.
Military historians come in here, or military equipment buffs tell us
science
that's a real
fiction
phrase.
Military historians, but it's basically, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, not blowback, but it's like when you shoot a gun and it's like you get like pushed back from the power of it. There's a word for that. What the fuck word?
Recoil?
Yeah, that's probably it.
I mean, but in this case, it's like the particles are supposed to, or whatever it's shooting is supposed to move straight through at the target. But in this case, it can't like it's being distorted by the medium because it's too dense with matter in a way that it's not supposed to be, and so it kind of turns into a massive, like, ball lightning or something.
It just blows up in your face.
It blows up, yeah.
Which, okay, I don't really understand that, but I can accept it. What I don't understand is why later they then say, well, as long as you're really close to them when you shoot it, then it will be fine.
Maybe Karger's just a fucking idiot.
Or he's like, well, it'll still kill you, but it'll also kill them, so I don't care if you're sacrificed.
It's true. Karger's not shooting. He's ordering his guys to shoot.
Yeah, that would make sense. So I'm like, what is that? That doesn't change anything if you're next to someone else.
Yeah, I don't know how many. I also don't know how much these Yeerks specifically even know about this, because there's all kinds of stuff they're learning. Like, there's also a bit here where they're just like, yeah, the only reason, like, you can't outrun fighter pilots trying to shoot you down, and they specifically say here the only reason we did it is because, like, the geometry of the terrain confused. Like, it's on a slope and they're not really sure, like, where they should be positioning themselves, and it's confusing. Like, these Yeerks have basically very little experience with, like, sight and things in three-dimensional space and anything. Yeah. And this really does kind of, like, you can sort of see here, like, it's a really good thing they have Esplin. You know, like, I could see him being extremely valuable, where it's just like they say earlier, they flew their ships in formation because Esplin said, hey guys, I've been studying Andalites and they always fly their ships in formation. It's a good idea. Like, you can kind of see how even if Esplin is an idiot who can't do anything, like, he's still extremely valuable. The dog is barking. We should probably actually close this door.
Okay, that's fine.
Can you hear him?
Yeah, I can hear him.
But yeah, it would, like, Esplin. It is a good thing they have Esplin. Is what I'm saying.
At this point, we don't know where Visser 1 is. Maybe that's in Visser. I don't know.
I don't even know if we know if Visser 1's been born yet.
Yeah, I don't know. But at this point, it seems like, why isn't Esplin Visser 1? It seems like if he were not here right now making suggestions, the Yeerks would not get very far.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 100% Actor is going to be Visser 1 because, or someone like this, right? Because, like, they're the guys who are giving out the titles.
Yeah. Which, well, I'll talk a little bit about that a little later too, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. But Esplin's doing a good job. We talked about the Jubba-Jubba, I guess. Was there more about the Jubba-Jubba? Feels like we should give the Jubba-Jubba its due.
Yeah, you got to give the Jubba-Jubba its due here.
I'm saying hubba for that Jubba-Jubba.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I do like that we finally get to see Father Deep. Like, it's pretty hyped up, especially in the soft cover where it's got that terror is in the deep. It's got a nice spooky atmosphere. Like I'm thinking maybe I'll make my house Father Deep themed for Halloween. You know,
that's excellent.
You put like a little blue fog machine, some giant monsters. Yeah,
yeah, it does. I do just picture a fog machine in this place. That's pretty much what I think it looks like.
Yeah.
It is kind of funny because I was at first like, wow, they did do a really good job establishing how scary this place is, and now you're in it and you're like, oh man, you get to see it, and this is the monsters. It's terrifying. And kind of immediately it's undercut because Aldrea's just fucks the guy up, and it's like, wait, is this place actually that scary, or is it just because Hork-Bajirs are pussies? And Aldrea's just like, you just have to fucking like hit them. They'll go away.
Andalites are just bad. I think if you went in there, you would still get eaten. Like, the Jubba-Jubba would get you for sure.
That's fair. What if the Jubba-Jubba listened to Chumbawamba?
I'm trying to, unfortunately, get my hand cut off doesn't slot neatly into get knocked down, you know?
I mean, he did get knocked down.
I don't know if we ever see the Jubba-Jubba fall down here. We just see his hand get cut off.
No, I think he gets knocked down.
Okay. But he does get up again.
That's right. Anyway.
Good old Jubba-Jubba. All right.
The deep.
We get a little bit... Yeah, no, there's some good lines in here too. I like that Dak thinks it's better to die in Father Deep than be killed by the Yeerks because Father Deep was ours of our world. I would die like a Hork-Bajir.
Sure.
Screaming
very
in the mouth of a
Klingon-coded.
Jubba-Jubba. Yeah, that makes sense.
Actually, that's a lot of alien races, probably.
Yeah. The scene where the Hork-Bajir get blown up while they're running is kind of horrifying. Because Dak is like trying to call out to them, and they're like, "Dak, Seer, tell us what to do," and he's like, "Run away!" And then they get incinerated.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a fun little thing.
Yeah, violence is fun.
Yeah, I like it. All right. So they having escaped the Yeerks, they they have briefly talked about what they're going to do. Eventually they're going to have to contact the Andalites cuz like what the heck, they're not going to stop these Yeerks, right? But for now there is nothing but to head deeper into the deep. If they come out, the Yeerks are all looking for them. They're everywhere.
It ain't called the shallow.
Right. The sha-sha-la-la-lo. They're far from it. They walk for several hours, and they don't encounter any more monsters. The monsters have decided to leave them alone. They're like, fucked up that Jubba-Jubba. I don't know about that. But finally, the mists start to clear. They're out of the monster zone. And it turns out the monster zone is actually quite narrow, relatively speaking. It's just a small band of this mist. So they're on the other side, and on the other side of this mist, the blue mist looks like a sky above them. It's like reflecting some kind of light source from below them. It's mostly flat down here. There's like weird bushes and some extremely fast streams. As they're walking here, they come to a sheer cliff, which is probably thousands of feet deep, and at the bottom they see like the exposed mantle of the planet with like molten rock, and that's the source of the light reflecting off the fog. And they see cut into these cliffs, they see cut windows, doors, walkways, and arches. It's like those like Navajo cities or something, but like way more intricate. So we'll get to those later. But let's talk about them getting here.
It was not clear to me at this point if those were literal doors and windows or that was just like a poetic way of describing the cave formations. You
should have learned from Megamorphs 2 that when they randomly stumble onto a city where it shouldn't be, that she is not done introducing new aliens is what that means.
We'll get there, but
yeah, we'll get there.
They just don't really dwell on it here. They're just kind of like, oh, there's like a bunch of doors and windows, and then it's like you got some more before they actually come back to that.
Yeah. But we have a little bit of stuff. Like we get a little bit more of like a thorough discussion. Oh yeah, this is where the stars are not flowers thing comes up. But,
which you nailed. You said it exactly.
Okay, good. I'm glad. They have one of the things with Dak and Aldrea's relationship is that like their dependency, or at least Dak's dependency on Aldrea. I guess Aldrea is dependent on Dak too because there's no one else left. We see this whole thing where Aldrea knows the Yeerks are after her. Dak could easily just stay up top and warn and help all the Hork-Bajir, but she's like, no, Dak, they're after us. We have to go into the deep, both of us. And Dak clearly knows that's not true, but is all like, no, he says, I might have saved them, but instead I followed you, Aldrea. And And it's like he's clearly angry at it. I don't know if he's angry at her or himself or whatever, but like he has to stay with Aldrea. He can't just go back to his people.
Yeah, there's a lot here that I'm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is where Aldrea really becomes selfish and manipulative and bad, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think what I like about it is that Dak immediately is aware of it and still goes along with it. I think it would be a more obvious route would be that he doesn't realize he's being manipulated, and I think it's a much better book for him being totally onto her. But
yeah, no, Dak knows what's up immediately. Dak is he's stuck.
So in the first part of our podcast last week, I said I was talking about how subtle their relationship setup was, and now is where I start to think maybe it was too subtle because I don't personally feel like their romance was established well enough for this, what ostensibly is a falling out, to have as much of an impact as I think it should. It feels like this is like her betrayal of him, but up until this point, and like he's all this stuff like I'm bound to you now, more or less. Like I don't have a choice. I'm like, I don't. He doesn't really say this, but basically he's saying I'm in love with you, or I feel some kind of bond with you. And I don't know that, and I really feel that bond. A lot of their time together was, to me, was described just more clinically of, yeah, they did this, it turned into a Chadu, they did that, but there wasn't that much time spent on them just kind of talking or bonding emotionally that connected with me. I don't know if you feel that way, or if you just read this book 50 times, so you're like, yeah, they love each other.
Yeah, it's hard to. I do have that second issue, like because I absolutely do feel it in the first part, but I also have, I've been reading this book since I was 9, and I've read this part. Never stopped, like legitimately never stopped, and like I have all these parts back to back. I will say that if you try to read it as a standard romance, you have this flowery period where they're super infatuated and into each other, and then you have the falling out stage where some revelation happens, and it definitely does not read well that way. I agree with you that the impact is out there. I don't think I ever read it that way as a kid. It was like, this was more of like an organic, just they're growing. Like I never thought of this as a true falling out moment, just as like they're as they're learning each other's flaws, or at least maybe not each other's, as Dak is learning Aldrea's flaws, he's also like learning to cope with them, or deciding the extent to which he wants to cope with them. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. Maybe falling out isn't the best term for it. I think my issue is that I feel like at this point, or certainly by the end of this section of the book, I feel far more evidence that Dak should hate Aldrea than he should love her. I feel like much more, they go into much more detail about how manipulative and cruel she's being than her ever being sweet and kind to him. That was almost glossed over.
Yeah, and I do think there is some toxicity there, because I think some of it does come. There is a little bit more to the idea that I don't know how much of it is sweetness and kindness and how much of it is like need, right? It's not that Dak loves Aldrea because, she is so good to him. He loves Aldrea because she's the only person that he can connect with. Like, he needs her. Like, what's he gonna do? Is he gonna go and get in a relationship with a regular Hork-Bajir? That Hork-Bajir can't talk 10-dimensional geometry with him.
Right.
Aldrea can engage with him on his level as a peer in a way that he can't get anywhere else. Dak is a lonely character.
Yeah.
And so he's willing to put up with more from her, right?
That's true. And they do, he says that to some extent. Mm-hmm. That is in there. So that's true. Yeah. Maybe if it were, I wish it were maybe a little bit more, but it's, it's that same thing that I say about a lot of these books is just they could have done with another 100 pages.
Don't get me wrong. That's what I was saying at the end of last episode. Is I could have had a whole series that was just Dak and Aldrea's adventures before.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about Avatar again, of course.
Right. Yeah.
And certainly, in the first movie, the Jake and Neytiri love angle it's not the greatest portrayed romance in movie history or anything, but you have the music, you have the chemistry of the actors. There's where here it's just there's not that extra element that you can kind of trick yourself into being they love each other.
You got to keep looking back at that cover. You got to keep looking back and saying, okay, but you say that, but look at the scene. Okay, when you read the scene where they're at the tribe tree, they're just at the tribe tree. Go look at the scene where they're at the tribe tree here. Look at that sexual energy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
Would you call Dak a simp?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Dak is simping hard. He is a day one sub to Aldrea's OnlyFans. Only Fandalites?
Whoa. I didn't understand half of what you just said, but I did understand only Fandalites, and I'm here for it.
Surely someone coined the term Fandalite at some point. That
must be a thing, yeah.
That should be the widespread, or Phantomorphs, I guess, is the more obvious one. That's got to be a thing.
I'm sure that's a thing.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's a name. Or maybe it's just because I'm not looking at the Reddit and stuff that much. But I don't hear I don't know. I guess not every fandom has that. Anyway, I like this part when they're talking about the lights. And she says it's more radioactive than radiating, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'm not sure I know. If you could explain.
I believe that's a literary reference to Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol when Scrooge says there's more of a gravy about you than grave.
Right, yes. Okay, that makes sense. We do know that Aldrea is a huge Dickens fan.
Yes, and so that's just something
She's a fan of those Dickens from Dak. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Oh God, we're gonna have to edit that out. We finally crossed the line.
No.
That one was too far.
No.
Where is the Hork-Bajir dick? I was wondering that.
You think it's a crocodile dick where it's in a pouch or something?
Yeah, I mean, do they just not want to draw it, or is it obscured somehow? Obviously they're not going to draw it.
My understanding is that in order to sex a crocodile, you have to reach into the pouch and feel whether it's a dick or a pussy in there. You can't tell. And I'm wondering maybe Horks is the same.
We'll stick to dolphins, I think. Crocs are.
Yeah, I don't know very much about Crocs, to be honest. Don't take my word on it.
I was trying to elevate the podcast with a literary allusion. That's sort of what I bring to the table, and then you come in with the lowbrow humor, and I don't know. But you know what? That's what people love. That's our dynamic. The literary cultured one and the wild bad boy.
Whoa. Yeah, I like that. That's me.
You're like John Belushi in Animal House, and I'm like Frasier.
I'm the Jaggle to your Dak.
Yeah. Okay.
That's right. Yeah. On the subject of good lines, going back to what you're saying where Dak is immediately on to Aldrea, I like there's a bit where she is all like, oh, Dak, we might have to go into space in order to steal a Yeerk ship. Don't you want to go into space? I know you do. And Dak says, you did not have to say that, Aldrea. You do not have to hold out a ripe Nawin cone to make me stay with you. All this time together, Aldrea, and yet you don't know that I would sacrifice anything for you?
Yeah. It's good. I like the Nawin cone.
I like the Nawin. I like all his little Hork-Bajir-isms. There's a part in the last section that I don't think we talked about where he says, like, the idea was like an exploding seed pod in my head or something.
Have seed pods come up before? I don't
know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, was there.
Not to beat a dead horse, but that was I like it's well written, but that was the passage where I went like, oh, he would sacrifice anything for her? I didn't know. So I don't expect
that's how you find out.
Yeah. It's like, okay, news to me.
He loves her. Now, I do want to bring up that while they're down here, they've been encountering all these like weird, fucked up bushes. When they get past the barrier, Aldrea says, "Oh, finally we get some like weird, stunted, fucked up trees." But Dak Dak refuses to call them trees. Right, to Aldrea, these are trees, but Dak looks at him and he's probably like, "What? That's like 15 feet high. That's not a tree."
Yeah.
Dak, he's a tree snob, He's not generous like Jera and Ket, who are like, Earth tree good, he wouldn't say that.
When when Jera and Ket, when they're talking about the trees, did they ever say like, oh, these trees are so small? Or I don't remember if they do.
I don't know if they've ever actually been to this planet or if they were born in captivity.
Oh,
I think they were born in captivity, actually. I think they know this planet through stories.
That is so fucked. I didn't even think about that.
Oh, no, except Jera said eat from the Fitfit, eat from the Canver. Yeah, I don't know if these timelines quite sync up. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, I might just not quite know where they were.
Yeah, I was just wondering if she decided the trees were real big yet or not, but...
yeah.
I
don't know.
Clearly a lot more there that's perhaps not fleshed out.
Yeah, I mean, that is a point. They say in the prologue, way back when, that the Hork-Bajir were up in the trees rather than in the caves where the Animorphs thought they would be, and so the trees there must be relatively big. Maybe this is like the part of the country where you get like sequoias and stuff, so they're like acceptable for Hork-Bajir.
Yeah, that could be.
Hork-Bajir couldn't live in trees like are in my backyard. They're like a quarter the height of the tree already.
They'd love to go to the place where you can drive through the middle of a tree.
Yeah, they would.
So do you want to? Would you like to just say it? Would you like to say it before we move on?
What am I saying?
About where they're headed.
Oh yes, of course. Yes. I had a whole little thing about because when they look over that cliff, and they see that mantle there. There's some making it to the planet core.
You sure are. You sure are.
They sure are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you reminded me. I really would have been upset if I'd forgotten to say that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd make sure.
Yeah, you got my back. All right. So Esplin, he's been paralyzed. His spine has been cut. So he lays there next to the burned out scoop. He's laying there for hours before help comes. He's just kind of staring up at the sky like, well, here I am. They come get him eventually. They take him from his host body. Presumably they kill that Hork-Bajir. And they interrogate Esplin. And through this, he learns about what happened. He learns that Karger's dead. He learned whatever. All the other Yeerks assume that Aldrea must have been eaten by the monsters too, but Esplin disagrees. He's like, no way, the Andalites are so cool, and Aldrea is so cool. There's no way. And eventually he's proven right, because they send search parties out, and they say, we found all the decapitated bodies, but we never found her body, so she must have survived. And so Esplin is given a new Hork-Bajir body and given a mission, which is to find Aldrea and kill her. But secretly, he intends to infest her, which you were saying earlier. Like Esplin's the guy who's he's thinking forward here. I want that Andalite infested.
Yeah, he's a tricksy Yeerk.
He's got Council of 13 aspirations, even at this point.
Yes, which is How long after this is Andalite Chronicles, would you say?
Okay, so let's see. Andalite Chronicles has to be pre.
I mean, Alaran's still alive, so it can't be more than like.
What is it? 1985 is Tobias's birth year.
Right.
So it must be more like 1980. I think we actually got a date, and it was like 1978 or something.
Yeah.
So little like between 1 and 2 decades.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So I mean I don't know how this book ends up yet, but kind of sucks for Esplin that he's still a sub-viscer in 20 years.
Yeah, so that was something I was going to maybe get into more when we see everything that happens in this book. But yes, Esplin very much rapidly rises through the ranks here and then just stagnates in between books. 100%.
Which really seems like that's just because she wrote that one first.
Yeah.
And
It works. Like, I think it does make sense from a character perspective, and it's interesting, but I 100% agree that, like, the reason is not because she thought it through.
Yeah, unless they do spend a lot of time on him being like, oh, this sucks, I wish I could get promoted, but I don't know if they do.
Yeah, he needs an Andalite, a specific Andalite to focus on, or else he's not doing good. Right? First it's Aldrea, then it's Elfangor, yeah. His muse, yes.
Yes, he does. We see here, maybe it's been indicated before, but more than a hatred of Andalites, he's...
Yeah.
If not respects them, he's jealous of them. Like, he thinks they're
he fucking
really good.
Loves them. Yeah.
Yeah.
They threw out kind of uncomfortably close to a slur. They call him an Andalite lover multiple times in this book, I'm pretty sure.
They do. They do.
Kind of correct. He is.
He also... Oh, well, it's later on, but he kind of wants to fuck Aldrea a little bit.
Yes. It's not quite here yet, but there is some weird Yerk sexual energy going on. Triangle,
We've made parallels to Get Out before, haven't we? I feel like that's probably come up.
We must have, but yeah, 100%, yeah.
Yeah, he wants to be them.
100%. I love that Esplin is like aware of comics logic, and the Yerks kind of are too. Where they're like, we sent guys and we didn't find her body, so she's alive.
Right? Yeah. You don't see a body, she ain't dead. That's how it works.
100%.
At first I was actually shocked that they went back to save Esplin, because I was like, Yerks don't give a shit, but I guess they wanted info from him is really why.
Yeah.
Or maybe they thought he was valuable. I don't know.
He clearly is valuable to them at this point, but maybe they might not. I don't know if they...
I'm used to Visser 3's style of management.
Visser 3 would have gone back for him because he'd be like, you're not going to die out here alone. I'm going to torture you for failing.
Yes. That's right. It really does. So this is where you were talking before about how, like, Actor or whatever is the guy giving commands right now.
Yeah.
They're really just making all this shit up as they go at this point.
Yeah.
Like, military structure, the hierarchy of command, they're just like, you're this now, and I'm gonna be this.
Yeah, no, it's the early days. It is literally baby early days. There were probably like a dozen of them in Get bodies or whatever who killed those Andalites and took off, and that's it. And they're just
it's so
bullshit.
Funny.
It is so... They are so lucky that they did manage to avoid the Andalites, because if they didn't have... Like, if they didn't have this place to establish themselves before confronting the main Andalite fleet, like, they would have been so fucked. Just totally blown out of the sky, dead.
The Hork-Bajir plan is just a gift for sure.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said for the idea that the Hork-Bajir planet is a gift. Well, maybe I'll put a pin in that and try to remember it.
Anger is a gift.
Sure.
Also sucks that Esplin then also had to, like, spend a few days in the pool just until they found a new body. It's just like, this sucks.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the fuck's going on. No one's like telling him what's happening. He's just like, back in the pool.
Yeah. My palps are aching for some info here, but nobody's.
Oh, those palps.
Oh, those palps. All right, so back to Dak and Aldrea. They're in these carved cliff cities. And here they do say, like, this is, like, these are cities, right? They can see, like, homes and businesses. It seems pretty advanced, but they're all empty. They don't know, like, is this brand new? Is this ancient? Who knows? They're walking around through all the walkways, and eventually they come to this, like, giant fucking room. I don't know, amphitheater or whatever you want to call it. And they decide to spend the night there, and they take turns keeping watch. And not a ton has happened, but I really need to break here because this is where the sexual tension gets to its absolute peak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I had a portable sensor to sense all this sexual tension down here.
Yeah, that makes sense. That would help you a lot if you had a portable sensor. Then we would know how much.
Sorry, before we get to sexual tension,
Yes.
Aldrea says she wants a portable sensor, and Dak goes, "What's a portable sensor?" And she says, "It's a device you can carry that performs a number of functions." It's got to be the worst description of anything I've ever heard. It's a thing that does stuff.
Also, legitimately, portable sensor. What does that mean? Well, it's portable. You can take it with you, and it senses stuff. Come on, Dak.
Who's naming this? That means the Andalites started with just sensors, and then they're like, we should make these smaller. I guess. Okay, anyway.
You think Andalites call binoculars portable sensors?
I think they call a lot of things like that, yes. So, yes. Now, this is when they're in the, they're staying in this big space.
Mm-hmm.
Big enough to play 3 separate games of driftball at once.
Yeah, second driftball reference.
Is that only the second one? I thought maybe there was
maybe there's a third. The point, driftball is consistent. Of all the things she doesn't remember about the series, driftball is one that she's got in her head.
Yes, we find out how Hork-Bajir sleep, which is Dak relaxed his legs, slumped down into a sort of sitting position. This Aldrea apparently has learned what sitting is, unlike Elfangor or Axe, who are confused by it. With legs splayed out in front and thick tail providing a third support. So like a tripod, I guess.
Yeah, like just imagine their legs like sliding out from under them, and then it's like.
Okay, this is weird. It's hard. It's weird to picture.
Weird, yeah.
But it's basically Aldrea checking out his bod.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. On that sleeping topic, before we get onto this bod, like they do draw the parallel where Hork-Bajir sleep very easily, but Aldrea talks about how. And it's very, like, she has trouble getting to sleep easily. And apparently insomnia is a very common condition among Andalites because they, like, evolved to be watchful, right? Because, like, before they had... Because we learned that they didn't always have their tail blades. They were, like, herd animals before they had their tail blades, and they just had to run to get away from predators on their planet.
Right.
Yeah. So a little bit of evolutionary history. There's a lot of evolutionary history in this book relative to I don't know if we've ever seen it before in these books.
Yeah, that's true. You got some interesting insight into the Andalite process, and we will get much more into the Hork-Bajir process.
Yes, we will.
So the fucking.
Yes, the fucking.
Aldrea starts looking at him, and while he's sleeping, says he'd said he would do anything for me. He'd said it in a way that, no, that was ridiculous. We were different species, totally, completely different. And yet I enjoyed spending time with him. I enjoyed talking with him. I missed him when we were separated. I was just lonely, that was it. There were no Andalite males around, and I was at the appropriate age for an interest in males.
God, Andalites are so obnoxious. The way they talk.
I was at an appropriate age for interest in males.
I mean, Jesus. This is how Axe talks about it, too.
I'm still trying to figure out. I guess I'm assuming because most of the main characters in these books are teenagers, that they're like teenagers, and also because she was like living with her family. But I don't know about Andalite culture. But
yeah.
Maybe she's not. Maybe she's like in her early 20s or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I do actually think that she is younger because she like it's not that many years after the Siros kindness thing, and she was supposed to be like relatively young then. And this is clearly a coming of age story for Dak, one way or another. Like
right.
whether
who
he's supposed
knows
to be,
how Hork-Bajir ages work. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah, but like this is for Dak. This is a transition from like, you know, carefree childhood to like, I have purpose and whatever obligation and
yeah, right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's pretty hot and heavy in here.
It's pretty hot and heavy. And, you know, I mean, listen, you know, we all know what they say about blue women in Hork-Bajir, right? Like if you see a blue woman walking down the street and she's got a big Hork-Bajir with her, you know, she's fucking that thing.
Yeah.
Like 100%. That's just how it is, you know.
100%.
You're swiping on Tinder and it's some blue girl and she's got like a horse and she's like stroking that Hork-Bajir's face. I mean, you know.
I hate when you meet him in person and the tail blade's not as long as they said it was. That's the worst. Come on, just be honest. I'm gonna swipe left, but like if your tail blade's not at least no. I mean, if it's short.
Yeah, oh yeah. Right.
But okay. I want him to be honest. Don't waste my time.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Okay. Anything else, or
all right,
keep going?
All right. Yeah. I don't have that much in particular to say about the horniness of this, other than I really do want to hammer home the point that it is here and it is strong. There are a couple of things here. Like one thing that I like about this place, this kind of has similar vibes to like Minecraft here, I think. Right?
Okay.
Because it's like it's underground. It's like very empty and lonely. It's clear someone's been here before, but there's no real sign of when or how. I don't know. I just get that kind of that feeling from it.
I can see that. I can give you the Minecraft. There's probably other video games sort of akin to that you could make comparisons to. There's something else that I'm going to make a comparison to, but it will be more appropriate in a minute.
Okay. Yeah. We can wait for a minute here. And the only other thing I wanted to point out here is that Dak is disturbed here by the flatness of the ground.
Right.
And this kind of reminds me of like when my Midwest relatives come out and they think everything is steep or on a slope. And I'm like, it's flat here. And they're like, no, it's like really steep uphill. I feel like Dak's like that, but in reverse, you know?
Is that a thing? I don't know about this Midwest stereotype.
This was the thing with when my Midwest relatives come out to the East Coast, I will be walking on a flat street. To me, it's flat. And they'll say, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I guess that's true. If I put down a ball, it would roll, right? Because it's not technically flat. But like, I do not notice it at all. But to them, it's immediately apparent that they are going uphill.
Because everything in the Midwest is extremely flat.
Yeah, like that's not just a stereotype. It's like just true.
Okay, yeah, right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a thing for sure. It just reminded me of that. All right.
Let's get into the shit here.
Let's get into the shit. All right. So Dak is on watch and he wakes up Eldrea because he sees something. There's like this giant shaft in the ceiling. It goes all the way. It goes all the way up to the true sky. It sounds like it goes through the deep. It's interesting, and it's filled with these like patches of moving color. It's a bunch of living things. They're all alive, and they're all these different, varied, orange and green and whatever. and they all wake up at once and they swarm down into the cavern that they're in, or the room, whatever. So these are the guys that live here, and they say these guys basically just kind of look like Chadus, right? At least to the extent in which we look like apes, right?
Yeah.
And so they all just start going about their business as if Dak and Aldrea weren't there. They're just walking, like, whatever, who cares, walking around. And then this one purple one walks up to them and asks them, in Hork-Bajir, he speaks Hork-Bajir, they explicitly say. He asks them what they are doing, and he tells them to leave, and he's kind of rude about it. They press him, and he introduces himself as, all right, and I'm going to see, because I have always pronounced this name as Quatsinikin, but it could easily be Quajinikin. How did you pronounce this?
I mean, I'm not going to make any kind of claim that this is correct.
Yeah, I don't.
But the way that I would say it, if I had to attempt to say it out loud, which I suppose I do, is I would probably say Quatshinikon or Quatsinikin. Something like that.
Like Quatsinikin. Okay, I can get behind Quatsinikin.
Yeah, it could be. It could even be like
Quatsinikon.
Cats or cots, like maybe, I don't know.
Cots. Interesting.
It's kind of like it's like Quetzalcoatl a little bit. I guess I don't know. I don't know.
Kind of like Cuts. I'll try to go with Quatsinikin. I'm fine with that.
Why don't we just call them Quats?
Yeah, good old. Well, it's like axe, right? Quats,
yeah,
good old Quats.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these guys here, they're called the Arn, right? And they made the Mist Zone. And they made the monsters to keep themselves and the Hork-Bajir separate. And he's wants to get out of it, but Aldrea's like, no, I'll kill you if you don't tell us everything. So, he continues, but I do want to stop to talk about the Arn a little bit here before we
She just couldn't help herself.
She could not. Listen, it can't just be about the Hork-Bajir. It can't just be about the war for the Hork-Bajir planet with the Yeerks and Andalites. I need to put a crazy new species in.
I don't know how I continually fail to see it coming. She just has to. It's like, oh, this book's 3 times as long as a normal one. Well, yeah. I guess I can fit 8 books in it then. Just fucking.
I had this Mercora idea. I didn't have a book for it, but all they do is look at dinosaurs.
Yeah, as you alluded to earlier, this is very similar to the Mercora.
Yeah,
it's just there's a secret race.
Very on brand. Yeah,
these guys can speak the same language as Aldrea. Gallard, I guess.
Hork-Bajir.
Oh, they speak Hork-Bajir. Okay.
Dak says he speaks my language.
Oh, okay.
I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I maybe was confused about whose POV I was in at that time.
Fair enough.
And yes, they've just lived under the surface. And this is where, last episode, I drew a comparison to Beneath the Planet of the Apes. And this is straight up.
Yes.
For anyone who doesn't know, and Beneath the Planet, they discover the remains of American civilization buried under rubble in that movie, and there's a race of mutants who live there and like use mind control to keep people out. I mean, it's straight up what's happening here.
Yeah, I wonder if Kay Applegate's an Apes fan.
She's got to be an Apes head. It's like, 'cause Planet of the Apes to me is very similar to like the original Star Trek series. And Rod Serling, I'm pretty sure on some Star Treks and helped write Planet of the Apes. So I'm pretty sure there's some crossover there.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Anyway, yeah, it's that which I like, but you describing this what happens here was very measured and calm.
Yes.
Just like matter of fact. But me reading it was like, oh my, what? And not even this is the tip of the iceberg. It's what comes next that I was really losing my shit.
Because some shit's coming next. I do. This is kind of what I was alluding to earlier, though, with the biology. With like, we see more evolutionary stuff. Like, these guys are just Chadus or whatever. Is this the first example of like actual, like, real evolution we've seen in Animorph? Like, I can't think of any other aliens that she has made up in this series that are just like, these things are clearly just like these two species. I got like a Caffet bird and a Taffet bird, and they're clearly the same thing, but slightly different the way that our birds are. No, like, I don't think I've seen her do that yet, have I?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, it doesn't feel like there would be much opportunity to do it. So
yeah, I don't know, but I like that this has been done here now that we're.
But didn't they say that it looks like the Arn are the ancient ancestors of the Chadu, so that Chadu are more advanced?
Well, that doesn't necessarily hold evolutionarily, right? Like, they both could have come from a common ancestor or like whatever, and then like one of them, it's not like from that perspective, it's not more advanced to be more intelligent. It's more fit to be whatever the environment asks you to be. So Chadu just didn't need to be smart.
That sounds like what the literal themes of this book, potentially.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there, yeah.
There's a lot.
Also, they're assholes. These things are assholes.
Yeah, no, they're all extremely rude and huge assholes, and
bunch of Alorans.
At this point, we only really see old Quats, but like, we're gonna see more Arn next section too, and they're all assholes. They suck. The Arns suck. They're terrible. Sure. All right, so old Quats here. He takes him to a huge like computer like lab, console, whatever room, and he tells them the story of the planet and them and everything. All right, so 12,000 years ago. 12,000 years.
This is Aldrea's like begs him. She's like, "Give us the exposition now."
Yeah, I will murder you if you don't. All right.
Okay, Applegate's like, I had to do it. Aldrea really wants it.
Yeah. I do like when Dak is just like, yeah, that's Aldrea, all right. That's what she's like.
Okay.
All right. So way back, 12,000 years ago, the planet was like a regular planet, right? Like actual life over continents and whatever. And the Arn lived on it, and they saw that an asteroid was going to hit the planet. And the Arn were like masters with biological sciences, but they were terrible at physics. So they couldn't like stop the asteroid or figure out Z-space travel to get away. They only got local space flight. So they, like, some of them ran to a nearby uninhabitable moon, went into stasis, and when they came out, the world is as it is now, right? The asteroid smashed, the atmosphere went away, and only the valleys had atmosphere. But the atmosphere in the valleys is very unstable. So to keep them habitable, the Arn used their biology powers to engineer a whole ecosystem of trees just to make sure that atmosphere would stay stable and it would stay habitable and they would have a planet to live on. But they also needed tree keepers, which is why they also invented the Hork-Bajir. The Hork-Bajir were created by them. They were created to be the perfect tree herders, and they intentionally made them too stupid to change the status quo or figure out or do anything different, because all they're supposed to do is herd the trees. We also find out that seers are a mistake. 1 in 10 Hork-Bajir just have like a genetic anomaly that make them super smart. Nothing weird or mystical or spiritual about it. And Dak realizes that the Arn have to control the monsters, and he demands they help them fight the Yeerks, and Quats agrees, but under extreme duress, right? He doesn't want to do it, but he's like, all right. Okay.
Sure
pulled out some shit for this.
It is. It did just occur to me that it's not that dissimilar from the Matrix. I already called Dak, compared him to the one in this episode, and that's the Arn are essentially the architects of the machines. They created humans, right? Or they didn't create humans in the Matrix, but you know.
I think you mean the Matrix is like this.
That is what I mean. Although, the Matrix is also ripping off other things. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
John Carter of Mars. Oh God, I don't know. Okay, first of all, are you okay with the fact that the Arn can't quite wrap their head around far space travel, but they're totally capable of creating a race of sentient beings?
Yeah, so this is a very dumb concept that I think I held on to as like a standard trope, and I do not know how standard it is for a long time because of how early I was exposed to this. But this idea of a species that's like, these guys are good at one kind of thing, they're not good at the other kind. So like, this is the biology species, and this is the physics species, and this is the whatever species. Like this is a very, I can't think of other examples, but I think as a kid I thought of this as like just a regular trope. And I know when I was a kid, when I made up species, I would often be like, they're good at this, right? These are the biology guys. Yeah. And I also remember as a kid trying to figure out like, well, what about humans? What are humans good at? And I couldn't really figure it out because it doesn't make sense.
I mean, that's certainly how it is in like a board game or a tabletop role-playing game. It's like a lot of, especially sci-fi games, you have a race that you play as, and it's like their skill is negotiation or whatever.
But there it kind of makes sense from like a gameplay perspective, like a mechanic perspective, right? Like you have to have some kind of mechanical thing that this does and this does. So you don't need, maybe you're still right. Maybe it is
it's not that far a stretch from, it's the desert planet. It's whatever. It's
yes.
It's that kind of thing. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's not that crazy. Like, we're human beings. I don't think we're getting space travel, light speed or whatever anytime soon, or Z space for that matter. But I we do have, like, we've been many years experimenting with cloning and biological, all kinds of shit and AI shit. And
we got CRISPR now, so we can do all that.
Sure. I don't want to date the podcast, but I don't know what that is. But so like, maybe it's not, I think the thing that's weird is that, like, well, we can space travel a little. I don't know. Which I guess we also do.
It is one of those things where it's written because of how Z-space works. It's just like, listen, if you can make the breakthrough into Z-space, then you just make the jump from I can get to my moon where we are right now to I can travel across the galaxy just overnight, because it's like, oh, now I understand this totally other thing. If you can figure out that bit of mathematics or something. But if you can't, then it's just literally impossible to make that. Like, there's no in between. There's no being like medium able to travel here. So they're like, I guess I don't know, this might make it worse, honestly, because from that perspective, it's like, well, we might not actually be as far away from space travel as you think, right? Because it's just like, listen, we're as far as we're going to get until we make a Z-space breakthrough. It's not about how good are we at space travel. It's about how close are we to discovering Z-space. And if the answer is closer than you think, then maybe we are actually just completely in line.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, like, nobody had a computer until somebody just invented a computer. Like...
Yeah. Yeah.
It just takes that one person to make the discovery and figure it out, and then it's like, oh yeah, you got the thing now. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know what point am I making? I don't know which side I'm on anymore. Okay, so anyway,
I do think it's dumb.
That's just one part of it. Now let's get into the Hork-Bajir of it all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I don't even know. I'll just read these notes in the order that I wrote them, even though it's probably not the most important thing to start with. But they named them. They speak Hork. So Hork-Bajir language is really Arn language. Is that correct?
I don't know if the Arn just know Hork-Bajir language because that's their business, or if Hork-Bajir like were taught the rudiments of language by the Arn and developed from there. I don't know. No idea.
Okay. They named them though, I guess.
Did they? Yeah, I guess they did.
I
Maybe?
think.
I don't know.
I don't know. They named themselves. The Hork-Bajir one popped out, and they're like, "What are you?" And he's like, "Hork-Bajir." And they're like, "Okay."
Hork-Bajir. Listen, this is like my first pet. My pet fish, String Doorknob, who my parents told me I could name him anything that I wanted to. And so I named him String Doorknob because I was like 3 years old at the oldest, probably younger.
I think Hork-Bajir translates to string doorknob. That's what that means.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Connecting a lot of dots for me. I mean, maybe we should just touch on this on a broad level to start with. It feels like this, to me, potentially cheapens the Hork-Bajir. I don't know that I like that they were created in a lab. This feels like a little bit like a jumping the shark kind of a moment to me of, and not saying this is a jump the shark moment for Animorphs, but it feels like the kind of thing you'd see in a movie or a show when you've like season 5 and you find out you were robots the whole time. Is like, oh, fuck, no, I don't want that. It's a little more excusable because the Hork-Bajir aren't like our main characters. So, and like, what difference does it make? I guess really it doesn't change what the Yeerks did to them or their role on Earth or anything really. But I don't know. Maybe that makes it worse. Like, why did this have to be a reveal? What does this add to the Hork-Bajir that this is their origin story? Do we need to know that Palpatine cloned Snoke? You know?
I feel it does tie in thematically to one of the other central things that is being done here, and is done more in the third part than it has been so far, which is this thematic idea of like the Hork-Bajir have kind of been stripped of any agency. Like the Hork-Bajir are supposed to be like a very like I think you are supposed to love the Hork-Bajir. Like even though they're dumb or whatever, it's like I love the tribe tree and the elder and the songs and they're so nice and they're so fun and great. But then there's this idea of like but like at the end of the day they are this peace that's being fought over, right? Like the Yeerks want to control them and the Andalites want to stop the Yeerks from controlling them, and there's this like whole fight happening around them that they are at the center of and bearing the burden of, but it's like they have no control over it. It's not them. And this kind of removes even their existence from that. It's like, but they didn't even get to exist on their own. The Arn made them to do this. Maybe this is a little going too far with that idea, like kicking them while they're down or something. It ties into that, but it's not clear to me how much of this is saying I want to make that theme stronger, and how much of that is K.A. Applegate saying I had a great idea for another alien, and I bet I could find a way to finagle it into that theme. So I hear what you're saying. To drill down on a specific point, one thing that hits me a lot harder as an adult than as a kid is that in this moment, the book feels like it's trying to take away something from you by cheapening the idea of a seer. To me, right? This idea that like, oh, the seer is a mystical thing. It's Mother Sky and Father Deep send you the seer. They only come up and they come when the people have need. And maybe you don't believe that, but there's some mysticism in here. The Arn just flat out refutes it and says, no, your existence is random. You're a mistake. It has nothing to do with anything. You don't have a purpose. You're just a number on a spreadsheet. It's reminiscent of the Force being midichlorians, but it feels very intentional what it's trying to do here. I do think on that particular point, I think by the end, the book kind of comes around on a refutation of that. And you do feel this sort of idea that, like, maybe it is something more. And even here, they plant the seeds of it with the arm being like, listen, even though we're biological masters, we can't get rid of that bundle of genes, and we don't know why. But it does feel like there's some of that here.
Yeah, I guess to now take the opposite tack after I was the one against it.
Sure.
The midi-chlorians is obviously the negative example, but again, I'll bring it back to the Matrix. Isn't that kind of what's in the Matrix? They basically say that the one, it's just like spoilers for the Matrix Reloaded or something, but it's like, the one just keeps coming and you're just the anomaly, and like it's not Jesus. You're just a fucking glitch or whatever.
It never occurred to me that this is just the Matrix. You're right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Avatar and the Matrix, which Avatar is also the Matrix. Anyway, but I think in that perspective and in this one, you can kind of, it's almost like, I don't know, the litmus tests, right? I guess it could be, but it's like, what do you believe? It maybe from one perspective, it's just a glitch, and from another perspective, maybe it is something mystical, and it just depends on who you ask.
Yeah. I do want to clarify for the listeners, because a lot of people would listen to your, good example and say, yeah, but the Matrix Reloaded was bad. I just want to clarify, I am a big Matrix Reloaded stan. I love the Matrix Reloaded, Yeah, I'm not going to say something crazy like it was better than the original. That's insane. But I think it's a very good movie. I think it's a good follow-up. And I wouldn't slander it on this podcast.
Yeah, let's save this for our Matrix podcast. But yeah.
Okay, well, we will save it.
Yeah. We're all agreed on that front.
Okay, good.
I mean, how can you like Animorphs and not like the Matrix Reloaded?
we're going to get emails flooding in over this one.
But anyway, yeah, there's a lot here. That's like this is a big revelation, the Matrix 4. And so that's what it's called, right? Revelations? Or that's not what it's called.
Oh, it might. I do not remember what the fourth one is called.
That's maybe what it's called.
Yeah.
I like to take it back to a less philosophical, sophisticated discussion. I like that the Arn are just like, we don't really want to hang out with the Hork-Bajir just because they're like kind of like poor people to us. They're just like stupid and dirty.
100%. Yeah, Arn. I would like to point out that this happened 12,000 years ago. They were advanced enough to make the Hork-Bajir. I don't think they have good space flight yet. Like, the Arn do not seem particularly interested in like building a better civilization. They don't really seem interested in anything other than being self-absorbed assholes.
No,
like,
yes,
they just suck.
Well, yeah. I don't know if they get into this later, but like they go through these caverns underground that seem to be abandoned, and they're all just like chilling up in a cave. Like, do they actually use these structures, or do they build them?
I don't know. I mean, they dropped down. So I guess I always presumed they showed up at night. And so it was like if you showed up in a city at night but people are awake during this. I don't fucking know. And then during the day, everybody comes out.
They're weird. I don't know what their deal is.
Very weird. Yeah.
And they're intelligent too.
Do you think maybe their purpose is that she was saying like, the problem is, people are starting to catch on to the fact that Andalites suck. And this is around the point in the book where people are going to get fed up with Aldrea and be like, Aldrea is bad. I need to write a race of aliens that's worse than the Andalites so that everyone will be like, Aldrea, why? I'm not even thinking about Aldrea. Look at this shitbag.
Hey, yeah, worked on me. Yeah, that's smart. That's good writing. I think that's probably what happened.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So yeah, I don't know. I'll see how I feel about it by the end of the book. Right now, I'm not. Mm-hmm. I don't hate this revelation, but I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I don't know that it needed to happen. I don't. Mm-hmm. It's just a weird, crazy thing for the sake of being a weird, crazy thing to me right now.
Yeah, that's not unreasonable for sure. I can't help but love it, but
yeah, I mean, I love it because I'm just like reading this the whole time, like, what the fuck, and just laughing at the audacity of it all.
It's great. Listen, this was my favorite book for many years.
Yeah.
So, all right,
I get it.
Yeah. All right, so let's do a quick aside before I get to this final bit that we're going to talk about for this part. I do think we could have stopped there, but I wanted to try to keep sections equal and whatever. So up above the deep, the Yeerks have been beginning their invasion process. Esplin has been infiltrating the Hork-Bajir as a spy. He's infested a Hork-Bajir named Fet Masher. The Hork-Bajir are too dumb to bother doing like stealth with, so like they literally just set up a Yeerk pool out in the open. They in fact cut down the tribe tree and cut it in half, and that's their Yeerk pool. Is this the giant ass tree lying on its side, cut in half, filled with Yeerk pool Yeerks, and they are at this point they're infesting like 100 Hork-Bajir a day. And the Yeerks are all like super cocky, and they're gloating, and they're like, now we've got these host bodies, we can do anything, we can mine, we can build, nobody can stop us, we're going to crush all the Andalites. And they're all like this right up until the moment when they get attacked. But we're not going to talk about that attack just yet, because I want to make sure we wrap up our Yeerk stuff for this episode first.
Yeah, this is where Esplin like hones his espionage skills.
Yes.
This is why the Earth invasion is the way it is, because he realizes, you should actually try to hide and stuff.
Yeah, I almost feel, I think I had like opposite notes where it's like at first he's like, oh shit, I got to do this for real and really infiltrate, and then when it's like, oh, Horks are so dumb we don't have to try, so now when he's on Earth he's like, look, I don't see why I need to start being reasonable all of a sudden. Why can't I just blow stuff up and turn into a monster in the middle of the street? That's what I did on the Hork-Bajir world. I'm a boomer, I don't like change, okay?
Yeah,
Can't we just go back to that?
I guess that's partially accurate too, I suppose, in a way.
Yeah, I like his espionage when because Fet Mashar has been away, and so when he comes back, the other Horks are like, "Where were you?" And he goes, "I am back," and they go, "Yes, you are back."
That is very funny. God, Hork-Bajirs are fucking dumb as rocks. Dumb
we mentioned
pieces of shit.
Jaggle here gets mentioned as too. They say they can't find Jaggle to infest them, so Jaggle's safe, in case you were worrying.
Yeah, right. Are there different tribes of the Hork-Bajir?
There are.
Okay, because I was sort of wondering, they're like, we have to question people to find out the name of Dak, but I'm like, the guy you infested didn't just know it? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe the first 3 Horks they grabbed were from the southern tribe, remember?
Okay. Oh, okay.
A different tribe. Like, that's why they learned about it from the speaking trees, because the speaking trees were communicating between tribes.
Yeah, and this is where now we're back to where we left the Matrix, now we are back to Avatar with the tree killing.
Yeah, yeah, we are just this is the attack on, this is when the spirit tree is
And we're about to get to another bit of Avatar, but
yes, we are.
I mean, did you mention? Are we going to talk about his brother?
Oh yeah, his brother is here. Like, he is laughing and joking with his brother. They are buddy at this point.
This was really like, this was a tease that I didn't appreciate because, yeah, he mentions that he's a twin and he's hanging out and joking and talking about like tactics with his brother, but they don't even give him like one line. I'm like, I just want, that guy is fascinating to me.
Yeah.
I want more of him.
Well, you can, I mean, I already know if you like, what did the word we came up with last time? Bleeding? Tweeting, but on Blue Sky. If you sent K.A. Applegate a tweet, I know she would probably be like, that's a great idea. You should write fan fiction. Piece of shit.
I will. What was his, fuck you, K.A. Applegate. What was his, Isn't fake name Herb or Hal or
that was Joe Bob Fenestra.
Joe Bob Fenestra. Why was I thinking like Fenestra. Herb or something?
I mean, Joe Bob, Herb, they're both kind of folk. Sure. Is Herb a folk? Herb feels like a folksy name to me, and I'll tell you why. It's because it was my great-grandfather's first name. So I always think of Herb as like, oh yeah, that's an old-timey name.
All right.
Whatever.
So where are we at? Right. I mean, I'm ready to just move into the end. I don't know.
So this is the point where you had kind of teased this earlier, but we see a lot more. This is where Visser 3 has a huge infestation boner for Aldrea, right?
Yeah.
Like this is the part where he says, okay, I have a quote. It says, "She seemed beautiful to me. Is that strange? I suppose it is. But there's a compelling beauty in the sight of someone seemingly so small and yet so dangerous. Yes, there was something beautiful in that small, delicate, dangerous creature. Someday I would live inside her head and I would tell her that I had admired her on this day."
Yeah.
He's kind of a creep here.
Very creepy. Actually, his love of Andalites reminds me of his love of cats. It's a similar, like, they're such incredible creatures.
Yeah. He likes the small but dangerous thing going on. Although, I don't know if most Andalites are all that small.
Yeah, I don't even know if Aldrea is. I don't know what her relative height is.
I guess the only time Esplin has ever been outside of the ship in his entire life, he was a Hork-Bajir, so that might be his standard of size at this point.
Yeah. And this did we mention there's a line of freaky monsters right now? Or
No, I didn't talk about that part but yes, we're here. I'll just finish this up so we can talk about these freaky monsters.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dak and Aldrea, the Arn gave them like mind control chips, right, in their heads for the monsters, right, all the monsters that live in the deep,
right,
and they gathered up like all the monsters from their valley, and they used the mind control chips, and they headed out toward the main Yerk pool. So it's the two of them leading this huge army of monsters. And as they're passing by all the different Hork-Bajir, they're calling out saying, "Oh, don't be afraid, Dak Hamee, he's your seer, and follow along and do as he does." So they've got this army of monsters, and then this potential army of Hork-Bajir all being like, "Ooh, do as he does," and so when they get there, the pool isn't heavily guarded. They didn't think they were going to meet resistance. The Hork-Bajir haven't done shit. There's no mounted Dracon beam. There's barely any posted guards at first. And so we see the beginning of this attack before I cut it off for this part. So the monsters attack while Aldrea attempts to head for an Andalite ship. And a little bit of carnage, but then Dak begins to fight as well. And seeing this, all of the other Hork-Bajir jump down from the trees to join the fight, and then the final horror began, says the chapter, and that's where I'm ending this.
The chapter says that?
The last sentence in the section that we did here is, "and then the final horror began."
Yeah, well, Dak says it, right? Or somebody. Aldrea?
He doesn't say it out loud.
Yeah, but he's saying it to us.
The narrator, who is Dak.
Yeah, okay.
Dak is the chapter. The seer and the... All right, listen.
Okay. You know what I was saying during the scene? Awa has heard you. Except that in this case, the natural creatures of the planet are fucking monstrosities.
They sure are. Yeah, no, I mean, this scene is pretty violent. It made me feel as sick as someone who has eaten yellow bark.
I had to ask about that. Does that mean somebody pissed on it?
Right.
It's like yellow snow.
Don't eat the yellow bark.
Okay, yes. Also, it's just funny.
Zappas.
It's like there could easily be a yellow tree on this planet. Like, that's not
Yeah, weird. Maybe. Yeah, you're not supposed to eat that tree.
It's poison. Some of these creatures that are in this fight. Of course, the Jubba-Jubba.
Yes.
But we learn about more.
We learn about the Jubba-Jubba, the Galalash, which is described as 14 feet tall with green and red reptilian flesh and razored tentacles.
I want to save those ones for last.
Okay. Well, yeah, they are the best.
Yeah, the one you mentioned this before, I think.
Yeah, the Lurdathak is one. This is a bizarre tangle of living vines surrounding a ravening mouth. And we've seen the Lurdathak in great detail because Visser 3 morphed one.
Right.
And they had to fight it. And it killed them. And they also described things that Hork-Bajir had never seen long enough to name, with mouths that could chew down a tree, with needle-sharp quills 10 feet long, with things that squirted acid. And the one that I skipped, we find out about the Gorks, which are only 3 feet tall, but 20 feet across, shuffling 12-legged horrors with snapping, extending mouths on all sides.
What the fuck is this fucking Gork?
The Gorks, John.
Hork-Bajir.
Hork-Bajir. Oh, man.
20 feet long? So it's like, I don't...
Across, they say.
What is that? Yeah, does that mean long?
Yeah, like, I'm imagining that either they're like a 20-foot diameter disc, or that they would be 20 feet long, but that's not they walk on like a crab. Disc. So like the 20 feet is what you would see coming at you.
Yeah, what I'm picturing, I think, is something like a line of like can dancers, only they're one being.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're short. Like
yeah, they're 3 feet tall, and they've got the mouths that are like constantly, like just all around the entire line.
And 12 legs. They're 20 feet long, but there's only 12 legs, so these are like probably some wide legs.
Yeah, that could be. The Gorks. Yeah, these are the weirdest fucking things.
I'm going to need to find some fan art of the Gorks, because I need to know what the fuck a Gork looks like.
Yeah. They give you a lot of leeway in imagining these monsters, right? Like, clearly there are dozens, if not hundreds more that are not described here or named. And if you were a kid, you could draw a lot of different monsters and say they were all from Father Deep. I am positive I did this. I don't remember ever specifically doing this, but I'm sure at some point I just randomly doodled monsters and was like, this is one of the Father Deep monsters.
I love that for you.
It's good.
Yeah, a Jubba-Jubba explodes.
Yeah, Jubba-Jubba. Yeah, we get some Jubba-Jubba action here. Get some shooting.
We do find out it has a vast mouth, so they do have a face of some kind.
Yeah, here you can, I guess, see them because they're not in the mist.
Right. Not that we get much more about them, but
no.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a bunch of. I mean, this is now where we've been introduced to the concept of that the Arn have mind control powers.
Yeah, they've got, somehow the monsters have been genetically crafted so that the Arn can interface with them with mind control chips.
Again, which the mutants in Beneath Planet of the Apes also do.
Mm-hmm. So it doesn't work on the Hork-Bajir, though. They didn't do this to the Hork-Bajir.
Right. It's not. They don't just have telekinesis. They had to like design them for
right.
it.
They didn't design the Hork-Bajir for it, though.
Right? Why would you? No, that would be stupid.
Yeah.
Well, that was earlier. They hadn't fine-tuned that yet. But the Arn are basically a race of fucking Mengelas. They're fucking Nazi scientists. They're just fucking shit up in the lab. They're monsters.
She does say here, in a better world, a world of peace and justice, someone would have punished the Arn for what they had done.
We ain't in that world.
Nope.
I guess next week we'll talk more about the aftermath of this battle, but because I don't know what it is.
Yeah, there's still more of this battle to go, but
it's a fun kickoff to it. I mean, it feels like the action scene you'd usually end an Animorphs book with.
Yeah. I mean, this is the opener to this action scene here. There are some thematic things here that are great. One of the other great lines from the book here that Dak says here, he's got a couple here. He says, "You asked me to kill my own people kill my own people today, and to lead my people in killing their brothers. You say they are not Hork-Bajir but Yeerks. But when the dead have given up their souls to Mother Sky, there will be Hork-Bajir bodies lying dead." And I also like when Aldre is trying to argue with him on this point, and he says, "These are my people who will die today. Be quiet, Andalite. Be quiet."
Yeah. And that was because that's from the very beginning of this section, this part. She says, like, they're not real Hork-Bajir. Just kill them.
Yeah.
She's constantly saying that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, they
are.
Even I know how this works. Like, last week I didn't know what a star was, but like, I know that's my friend in there.
Yeah, this is kind of the turning point for Dak. Up for a long time, he's been resenting his people for being, it's like, you guys, I can't believe I have to. But like, this is kind of the point where he's like, God, I'm seeing these intelligent Arn. They fucking suck. Aldrea fucking sucks. You know what? Hork-Bajir are great, and I am sad that I have to lead them in death to save them from all of you fucking intelligent species coming in here and doing your bullshit.
Dak's really... His life sucks because he's like too smart for his kind, but he's kind of too miserable or doesn't like anyone else, but he sort of wants to, like, he has to look after them in a way, but I don't know. It just seems like there's no good life for him.
You know who he needs is his buddy Jaggle back.
Yeah, Jaggle would fix this in a heartbeat.
There might be some more Jaggle action coming up next time. That's a teaser for me, though.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
The image of all of the Hork-Bajir in the trees just kind of like murmuring, do as he does over and over as they follow him is like a very powerful bit of imagery. It drives home this idea that, like, morally speaking, this loss of innocence for the Hork-Bajir as they turn from being this peaceful, nice species into this race of killers and warriors, like, this falls on Dak's shoulders. He is leading them into this. It's his doing, they do as he does, kind of thing.
It's quite ominous.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
For the greater good.
For the greater good. And I also want to mention here, when they're giving orders to the monsters, and they're telling them to kill, Aldrea says, for my mother, for my brother, for my father, Prince Zero, kill. And I just wanted to say that I think that Aldrea kills with her heart. I think that she has not forgotten the face of her father.
True.
Aldrea is a gunslinger, I would say.
All right, let me just, I got Star Wars, Avatar, The Matrix, Dark Tower. Bingo! I got bingo for this episode.
We did it. Yeah. Bingo!
That's good. I think that means we can close it up for this week.
I think it probably does mean we can close it up for this week. All right. Yeah. So this, if the first part of this was the Mother Sky part, this is kind of like the Father Deep part,
Huh. Yeah, they should have separated this into chapters. Should have been part 1, Mother Sky.
Mm-hmm.
Part 2, Father Deep. Part 3,
determined, I guess.
Baby Space. I don't know what's a
baby space.
I don't know what's the sky kind of is space already though, so I don't know. Yeah, you kind of got it covered with like up and down. I guess just where they started.
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you been happy with your Jubba-Jubba, or do you need a little bit more Jubba-Jubba?
I could do with more Jubba-Jubba for sure. Considering I was promised that this would be the story of Jubba-Jubba.
Okay, good. Yeah, we don't want to. Yeah, there could be a little more Jubba-Jubba. There might be, we're not quite done with Jubba-Jubba.
Here's hoping.
Yeah. So this, I'll just say this to get your reaction here. This was promised to be the story of the war between the Andalites and the Yeerks. The Andalites haven't gotten here yet. We haven't really seen any Andalites except Aldrea. What are you thinking about? I don't know what that's going to be like.
I was already like, this book's not about the Hork-Bajir, it's about the Yeerks, it's about the Andalites. Now it's also about the Arn. Like, I don't know that I agree with the naming convention of these Chronicles books at all, but I guess. Also, why did we drop the date? I guess because the date hasn't changed since last time.
I mean, okay, they have been minimum 6 months out from when they landed here. So if they're doing like 863.2 or whatever, it must have changed a little.
Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of bad. I hate, like, in a movie when you'll see. Sometimes there's a movie where they'll do, like, chapter breaks on the screen, and then, like, I swear there's been movies where then they'll just drop it like halfway through. And then it's not till like the very end. They're like, yeah, chapter 3. And you're like, what the fuck? I forgot they were doing chapters. I don't know. I just feel like if you start a convention like that, you should make it consistent.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think I always
late cold or what?
Yeah, right. I think I always forget that there aren't more of them, because as a kid I saw them twice and I was like, oh yeah, they're all over the place. And then every time I've reread this, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. There aren't anymore. That's it.
Maybe that's how we should start all our episodes from now on.
Oh yeah, we're just moving from middle hot to late cool.
Well, yeah, we should say now. Whenever the month of the book came out, right? We call it.
Oh yeah. Oh well, then we're definitely late cool.
Yeah.
or later cool. Yeah, no, because then it would be like the end cold. It would still be late cold.
Are we late cool or are we late hot?
Well, we're October.
Oh, sorry. Right, sorry. I forgot again. Anyway, okay. Listeners, if you have thoughts about what the season is or how much Jubba-Jubba you'd like to see, or what the fuck's going on with Hork-Bajir and Arn, email us, theyerkyboys@gmail.com. We'll read it on the show. Any thoughts you have about Animorphs. You can find me on the internet over at Blue Sky at Jonathan Estes. I still don't know where I'm really landing with social media these days, but you can find everything I do at jonathanestes.com.
Yep. And you can find me on Blue Sky, I guess. I'm finding my legs, maybe. I don't know. At Dog Times.
We're trying it out.
Blue Sky. Trying it out. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Tune in next time when we'll finish talking about the Hork-Bajir Chronicles, in which Aldrea turns into an Andalite on the Yeerky Boys.